Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for the Ultimate Fighter Finale 17. Overall, it was a really fun card. Lots of finishes here. My picks are really good. I got 11 out of 12. And of all the ones I missed, there's the Uriah Hall one had so much hype on him. You know, as far as bonuses go, Zingano versus Tate got fight of the night. Travis Brown got knockout of the night, and Daniel Pineda got submission of the night honors. As far as like where a lot of these fighters will go from here, I'm not gonna be able to say because there's so many new fighters, you know. So and all middleweight, so that actually, you know, makes me analyze something else entirely. And that's pretty much which one of these guys are legit prospects in the middleweight division. A lot of people, I'm not one of them. I even made a show about it. You know, a lot of people think middleweight's a weak division. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's stacked. I think it's somewhere in the middle. It's a solid division. But which one, you know, out of these middleweights that are fighting, which ones come off like contenders? Josh Saman, maybe Clint Hester. You know, Uriah Hall, honestly, is a good middleweight. He looked kind of cocky in this fight. He wasn't fighting great. So, yeah. And some of these fights, yeah, are just really fun to watch. There's Blanco versus Cecilia was good. Zingano Tate was good. I mean, there's just a lot of good fights here. So let's get started. Uriah Faber beat Scott Jorgensen by rear naked choke in the 4th round. I kind of figured that Faber would win. It just, Jorgensen was good and he hung in there, but Faber was just better in all aspects of the game. Better wrestler, better at jiu-jitsu, better at the scrambles, better stand-up. I mean, there's no, you know, I'm not trying to insult Scott Jorgensen. It's just, you can see it in the fight too, you know, that Jorgensen's just kind of, he's in there, he's in the fight, but he's, you know, Faber is just one step ahead of him. You know, you gotta look at Faber's wins, and it's like, he beat Mandivar, he choked him out in the 1st round, then he just choked out Scott Jorgensen in the 4th. I mean, the guy's a contender. And it's sad with the guy because pretty much he'll beat everyone. Brian Bowles, Scott Jorgensen, Eddie Wineland, except for the very best guys. Jose Aldo, Renan Barão, Dominic Cruz, Mike Brown when he was still up there. So I mean, I can see him get a title shot, and if he fights Dominic Cruz, it'd be really interesting because Cruz is coming off the layoff, getting a new ACL, so you don't exactly know how Cruz will come back from the injury. If your favorite fights Barão, I think a lot of Team Alpha Male guys have a hard time fighting guys that can utilize range. Barão would probably use range really well. Jose Aldo uses range really well. And a lot of Team Alpha Male guys just can't seem to work around that a lot of times. Jorgensen, you know, he's not the most, you know, his last win was actually against, forgot his name. Choked up, John Albert. Yeah, John Albert, you know. Before that, he's on like a 2-fight losing streak. So, you know, I'm sure they'll give him another fight, more of like a mid-tier guy at 135. But yeah, with Faber though, it's tough to say. I guess the fight that makes sense for Faber right now is Brad Pickett, who's coming off the win over Mike Easton. And the winner of that, I mean, the way it looks like the winner of Wineland versus Barão gets Cruz. And therefore I'd leave room for like the winner of like Faber versus Pickett to fight the winner of Cruz versus, you know, the winner of Barão versus Wineland. So that's where I think they should go, and I think that's pretty much what makes the most sense at this time. Next fight after that, Kelvin Gastelum beat Uriah Hall by a split decision. There's an argument for either guy to win. I thought Gastelum won, to be honest. I picked Hall to win the fight, in my predictions, but I thought Gastelum won rounds 1 and 3. It kind of sucks in the sense because I know some people are saying, look, that Uriah Hall, he got taken down, but he reversed a lot of times. Was hitting ground and pound, and you don't know if that was really rewarded. It wasn't a pretty win for Kelvin. He'd wing overhands and go for takedowns and grind away, and he'd get reversed. He'd get taken down himself. It's one of those things where it's like, despite the win, Uriah Hall looks like he has more potential for, to be like an eventual top 10 guy, or just to be a good prospect. The thing with Kelvin, though, he's only 21, so he has a lot of time to improve. But yeah, the thing with Hall, though, he kind of fought cocky, back against the cage, hands down. Not a lot of output at times. It's I don't know what it was with Hall. He just looked kind of cocky and arrogant at times, especially with his hands down and whatnot. He has a lot of talent. It's hard. Guy's not a wrestler, and he was hitting German suplexes on Gastelum. So the guy's really talented, and I can see a lot more upside for Hall than Gastelum, but Gastelum nonetheless got the win. I think he deserved it. He definitely wins with heart. I don't know how far you can really go with just heart alone. He's a good wrestler. He was getting reversed a lot. He's not big for the weight class, so maybe he'll go down to 170 or something like that. Hall looked like one weight class bigger than him. But nonetheless, good win for Kelvin, and he definitely won it with heart, and that was pretty much the story of him this whole season. As far as who they should fight next, it's more lower to mid tier of their division. Like I said, with these Ultimate Fighter guys, pretty much, they can fight each other, or they can fight just more lower to mid tier guys. You can fight like a Michael Cooper, or who else? Nick Ring, I guess, if he's considered lower tier. They cut a couple guys, because I'd say like a Ricky Fukuda or something like that, but Stanislav Nedkov, given like those guys, because they're all middleweight, mid to lower guys. Next fight after that, Kat Zingano beat Miesha Tate by TKO in the third round. There's a little controversy here, as there were 4 knees. It's a great sequence. 4 knees and an elbow to end the fight. There was a bit of controversy because, some people were saying that Miesha Tate's fingers were on the mat when the knee hit. I don't know. They looked legal to me personally. I don't think it's a huge controversy. The Brown versus Gonzaga elbows, on the other hand, a little different story there. But with Zingano versus Tate, the way the fight went too, Miesha was strong in the first, and in the first half of the second, and then Kat Zingano really rallied back at the end of the second and in the third. Those knees are going to be a part of her highlight reel. She also Zingano looks smaller than Tate too, but she managed to pull out the win. Had the better striking. But yeah, those 4 knees were pretty vicious, and that elbow was just really cool. obviously now you got Zingano and Rousey. You know, coaching The Ultimate Fighter on Fox Sports 1. They're both, the selling point here is that Kat Zingano is relatively new, but she's also undefeated. So you definitely have a new challenger, and they're both undefeated fighters. As far as how I think the fight would go, I think Rousey's just going to use her judo to take her down, get down in position, and get an armbar. As cool as the stand-up was from Zingano, you know, I don't think she'll be able to utilize it on Rousey, but it is still a fresh challenger, and a good challenger. You know, Kat Zingano is a solid bantamweight, and this is a very strong win. Miesha Tate is a very good fighter for 135, and it's definitely a solid win under her belt. As far as Miesha Tate goes, I mean, who's signed? You know, you can give her Liz Carmouche. You can give her the loser of Shayla Gaff versus Sarah McMahon, or the loser of Alexis Davis versus Rosie Sexton. You can you can give her like a Jermaine Durandami or something like that, but I think it makes more sense to give her like someone coming off a loss. Liz Carmouche versus Miesha Tate wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, I actually like that matchup. Okay, next right after that, Travis Brown beat Gabriel Gonzaga by KO elbows in the first round. You know, I applaud Gonzaga for using a more grappling-based style. He got him up against a cage, was working a double, what looked like a double, and Travis Brown threw elbows to Gonzaga's head and knocked him out. Now, some of the elbows in the sequence were blatantly illegal elbows. I mean, they were hitting that area of like where the spine meets the neck. You know, I mean, there's gifs of it too. So, you know, it's questionable. I think the first elbow was legal. It's like kind of an ear one, but then the next elbow after that may have been a back of the head elbow as well. So it's a very, very controversial finish in the sense, because, you know, the illegal blow could have led to the actual knockout. It's a good win for Travis Brown nonetheless. Gabriel Gonzaga, you know, the guy gets most of his losses are by knockout. So I wasn't too surprised that I picked Travis Brown to win, and if he was going to win, it was most likely going to be by knockout or TKO. Gonzaga is a good, gatekeeper of the division. You know, you can fight your, guys like, I know Pat Barry's fighting like Stipe Miocic or something like that, or jeez, I forgot now. No, is it Sean Jordan? I think it might be Sean Jordan. You know, you can fight the loser of that fight. A guy like Stipe Miocic, who's fighting someone. I just totally forgot who. Who else is coming up? You can give him Todd Duffy if you want to. Who else is coming off that good win? Mitch Round, Gonzaga. So there's good fights for Gonzaga. Travis Brown, you know, he's coming off. Before this fight, he's coming off that loss to Antonio Silva. He got knocked out. This was a really good win for him to have. I think he should definitely fight more towards the top of the division. I'm assuming the winner of maybe Verdum versus Nogueira, the winner of that might get a title shot, or the winner of Hunt versus Junior Dos Santos. It's really hard to say, because I'd like to see Travis Brown fight the winner of one of those fights. If not him, jeez, I'm trying to think who's in here. Jeez, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm not too sure who else he can fight at this time. I'm just kind of thinking of more guys more towards the top of the division. That's coming off a win too. So, you could do like Overeem versus Travis Brown, which would be a pretty cool fight. Wouldn't be the worst fight out there, actually, but, I'd like to see Travis Brown fight a guy coming off a win. Good win for him. He's pretty much back on track. He's getting a lot of first-round stoppages. That's usually how his fights turn out. So I'd like to see him more in deeper water, but yeah, good win for him. Next fight after that, Bubba McDaniel beat Gilbert Smith by a triangle choke in the 3rd round. I don't know if Gilbert Smith is going to stay or get cut. I would imagine he'd probably get cut, Otherwise, good win for Bubba McDaniel, really. I liked his submission game. He kind of showed, on the show, especially against like Uriah Hall, you didn't see the best of him, but over here you really got to see a good submission game. He got some really good sweeps. He got a really good sweep, especially in the 1st round. Very good top game as well. So, I liked what I saw from the guy. He has a lot of experience. I'm curious to see who he gets next. I don't think he's like this great prospect or anything like that. I think, but he could be like a solid mid-tier of the division. On to the prelims. Josh Saman beat Kevin Casey by TKO in the 2nd round. Casey had nothing for the tie plum and knees. Josh Saman, but he was in trouble, man. I mean, Kevin Casey, he got that good triangle choke, that armbar, but once Saman got out of that, he didn't win the 1st round, but in the 2nd round, especially at that tie plum and knees, he really got him. Saman has really good wrestling, and his stand-up is not that bad. His ground and pound is really strong as well. It's actually really surprising, just from a stylistic standpoint, that Gastelum beat him on The Ultimate Fighter. Nonetheless, it's a good win for Saman. He's someone that I thought should have been in the UFC. He's just a solid fighter and a solid prospect. Strong guy too, really good at scrambles. And he's still relatively young, so I'm very curious to see who he gets next. And I'm curious to see his progression. I think he's one of the better prospects at 185. Next fight after that, Luke Barnett beat Cullen Hart by unanimous decision. With Cullen's forward pressure here, I kind of thought that Hart may have won by being the aggressor, but I do feel that Luke was landing the cleaner shots, the straighter shots. He definitely had a problem with left hooks. Like, he was just getting tagged with left hooks a lot. Yeah, he fights tall, which is good. He uses he has a go-to like judo throw as well when he gets clinched up. But, with his size, with his use of range, he can be trouble for some guys. But obviously, I don't feel he handled that forward pressure that well. He was getting tagged more times than I was comfortable with, but nonetheless, it's a good one for him. I'm curious to see his progression. He is undefeated and still young and still very new. He doesn't have a lot of fights, so yeah, I'm a bit curious to see what happens to him. Like I said, all these Ultimate Fighter guys, lower to mid-tier guys of the division, guys coming off losses, unless they had a good fight, I'd assume that they're most likely going to get cut. Next fight after that, Dylan Andrews beat Jimmy Quinlan by TKO in the 1st round. Quinlan, he's a good wrestler and has good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but definitely need to work on that stand-up. He got tagged. It looked kind of like behind the ear shot, follow-up uppercut and ground and pound. So Good one for Andrews. Don't see too much upward mobility with the guy. You know, I believe he's in his early 30s now. Has a good amount of fights under his belt, so I don't know if there's much upward progression, but you know, we'll just see how it goes with him. Next fight after that, Clint Hester beat Bristol Morunde in what I thought should have been knockout of the night by an elbow in the 3rd round. You know, I like the improvements I saw from Hester because, you know, his ground game and his overall grappling still need work. But he was showing, you know, a pretty good sprawl. He did get taken down. His stand-up's good. It's really solid. He hits really hard. But, you know, you got to see some improvement with the guy's grappling. He's still relatively new to the sport, pretty young too. So he's a prospect also that has some pretty good upward mobility. I like his striking a lot. Obviously, that's definitely a strong point. Beat a dude with an elbow, I mean, to the chin, I mean, what can you say? I mean, that is a great way to introduce yourself into the UFC, you know? Good one for Hester. I'm really curious to see where he goes from here. They'll give him some more strikers, or whatnot. I don't think there's too many wrestlers at middleweight anyways. So yeah, I was curious to see where how that guy progresses as well, you know. I think he definitely has some upside to him as well. Okay, on to Facebook prelims. Cole Miller beat Bart Palashetsky by rear naked choke in the 1st round. Man, Bartimus was winning that fight up until that point, man. Cole Miller, he got a takedown, he got a takedown, took his back, rear naked choke. When Cole Miller's on and he knows that his grappling is his strength, he's on. You know, he has a really good ground game. That's the thing. You know, he tried to strike with at range, but Bartimus was really not having much of that and kind of beat him up on the feet, would hit some combinations, but you know, ultimately he made a mistake and got submitted. Tough to say with Bartimus too, because I believe this is now a 3-fight losing streak, so he might get cut. I believe he lost to Diego Nunez before this, and before that, geez, was it Hyogi? Or I forgot. So yeah, it's a bit worrying as far as his job in the UFC, if he's still going to be in the UFC or not. But with Cole Miller, more mid to lower tier guys of the division. You know, he's a solid fighter, and this was actually a pretty solid win. So yeah, good win for Miller here. Okay, next fight after that, Maximo Blanco beat Sam Cecilia by unanimous decision. You know, I like this fight a lot. It's a fun fight. Sam Cecilia has a brick for a head, man. And Maximo Blanco has a pretty good chin on him, too. They were swinging. Maximo Blanco was using a jab. When he fought Brimage, he did not seem motivated. In this fight, there was definitely a fire lit under his, you know what, in this fight. I liked seeing his jab. I didn't like seeing his hands low. The other thing is, this was kind of controversial as well, because Maximo Blanco kept grabbing the cage. He kept doing, I mean, he did a lot of things that referee Kim Winslow had to keep warning him about. There was a point where it's like, dude, just take a point off, you know, which would have actually made this fight a draw. Nonetheless, you know, it's a good one for Blanco, and he kind of got to show what he's about. He showed a really good sprawl, good resilience, good striking, and good wrestling himself. So, you really got to see what the guy was about, and because you didn't really get to see it against Pat Healy or Marcus Brimage. But yeah, good one for him. He's fighting for more lower to mid tier of the division. And with Cecilia, you know, he's coming off that loss to Honey Jason. So, 2-fight losing streak. Don't know about where he's going to go next. And finally, Daniel Pineda beat Justin Lawrence by Kimura in the 1st round. Got submission tonight. Pineda, I like the guy. He takes a lot of risk, and it works for him and against him at times. Exciting fighter, always pushing forward, and got the good win here. You know, he used his grappling. He's a really good grappler. You know, he's fight just more lower to mid tier of the division. With Justin Lawrence, I know he's coming off that loss to Holloway before this. Got knocked out there. To be honest, he's really young. He might get cut, but this is a case of a guy who might get cut, and it might actually be good for him to get some seasoning in the regional, in the regional MMA. So that's pretty much it for my post-fight analysis for the Ultimate Fighter Finale 17. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.